So apparently Elliot Anderson has already been sold and Forest are looking for the replacement, and that comes in the form of one Hayden Hackney. Welcome to your Forest transfer news. Hi guys, hope you're doing well and welcome to your transfer news. Coming up, we'll tell you about this so-called sale of Elliot Anderson and who Forest have already replaced with, because apparently all this business can happen outside of a transfer window. So make sure you've liked, make sure you've hyped, make sure you're subscribed, and if you do want to grab me a coffee, you can scan that QR code. So let's start with the Elliot Anderson side of things before we get into Hayden Hackney. So over the last week or two, there's been a lot of reports on Elliot Anderson's future and how it's between the two Manchester clubs. Man City have more pull apparently now than Manchester United, and apparently Elliot Anderson would prefer a move to Man City over Man United. Manchester United is still keeping interested in Elliot Anderson, and if Man City were to pull out, they're going to come and take him. Oh, God. And on top of that, Forest apparently will only accept in the region of north of 100 million for Elliot Anderson. So poor old Elliot Anderson, and this is what I don't like about all these reports. We all know the tragic event he's had to go through in the last week or two, and people are talking about his future, printing articles on it and everything else, instead of giving the poor guy just a little time to grieve on, which I find quite distasteful, if I'm being honest from you guys. So I really highly doubt that currently Elliot Anderson, with all that's going on in his personal life, decided, yeah, I'm just going to sit down, talk to my agent, and this is a perfect time to figure out what I'm doing for my future. Now, I'm not saying he's not going to Man City or Bayern Munich or whoever, right? I think most Forest fans understand that football is a business, that players must be bought and sold and everything else. And we've all been saying it even on this channel, that someone's going to be sold to balance the books. That's how football works. And it could be Elliot Anderson, it could be Murillo, it could be Gibbs White, it could be all three of them, or it could be none of them if we're in Champions League. Who knows? And this is my point. It's still too early to make any kind of assumptions on what's happening with Elliot Anderson. And as I've said here a billion times, Elliot Anderson is one of the most down-to-earth people you will ever speak to. Even if he wanted to leave, just play out this scenario. If Elliot Anderson wanted to leave Forest and he turned to Marinakis or Pereira or whatever the protocol is and said, I want to leave, and they turned around and said, actually, mate, you're under contract and we think you're really good, so you're staying here. He's not the kind of guy who's going to throw his toys out the pram or, kick up a fuss or do an Alexander Isak or even a Van Hooijdonk, some would say. He's just going to get on with it. And that's the thing I really like about him. So, look, but let's just play out this scenario, okay? Because, again, I'm sitting here fully expecting someone or a lot of teams are going to come in with bids with him. I think what we'll see is a lot of teams will try and get him pre-World Cup, and Forest will be saying the phone's busy or hanging it up saying talk to us after the World Cup when he's balled out there and we've added another 20% onto his price tag. So that's what I think is going to happen there. On the other side, if the replacement is going to be Hayden Hackney, I'm all for it. I actually think he is a mini Anderson. He's got the traits that Anderson does. I don't think he's as good as Anderson. And he's also untested at a Premier League level. Currently at Middlesbrough, 23 years old. I think he'll be turning 24 in the summer. So still a very, very good age when it comes to that. But again, we can't be trading players that are currently elsewhere outside of a transfer window. Because a lot of what will happen with Hayden Hackney will be dependent on what happens with Middlesbrough. They're currently in the race for maybe playoffs, maybe automatic, who knows. And if they can offer him Premier League football, he may want to stay there. But if they can't, then it is very likely that he will leave. And the fee being reported for him is about 20 to 25 million, probably with add-ons, probably in this day and age of English tax and everything else. You'd be looking for quite a bit more than that if you're Middlesbrough. But if they don't get Premier League football, then really one of their big bargaining chips is out the window. So, look, what does he do? He's just, imagine Anderson just un-Premier League proven. So I think he's very good at the press. He's very good defensively. He's very good at passing. He does chip in with some goals, not too many. I think he's had 5 goals and 7 assists in total. and that is in the Championship. So don't expect him to come in and score a bag load of goals if indeed this were to be true. And on top of that, Anderson doesn't really score that many anyway. His role within the team is different, hence why I make the similarities. He's also got this whole leadership quality, I would say, as well. I don't know if the Middlesbrough fans would agree with me or not, but that's what he's got, and he does the whole kind of local spirit, local lads. He's come through their academy and everything else. He's kind of the jewel in their kind of armor. So I think this would be an excellent replacement. And if we were to sell Anderson, let's just go with the numbers, even though I don't think it would get to that. But let's call it 100 million. And then you need to get Hayden Hackney for 30 million. In terms of your profit margins, you're absolutely loving it. If you were to get him on a 5-year PSR deal, you know, at 30 million, you're looking at 7 million cost per year. And then 100 million for Anderson. That's good business from Forest. And I think Hayden Hackney will work very well in the Premier League. However, again, still playing out the tabloid scenarios and everything else. If Hayden Hackney did become available on the market, it won't just be Forest looking at him. There are, you know, bigger clubs who are eyeing him up as well. I've seen loads of links with Man United for him. I've seen a few other Premier League links as well. So Forest to be able to attract even the players who are coming out of the Championship with good hype and good rep about them are going to need to have something to offer on the table. And for me, that needs to be Champions League football. And for us to do that, we've got to beat Villa this week and next week and then win in the final. We are 3 games away from Champions League football. And in the form we're currently in, would you back against us to do it? I don't think I would at the moment. So that's the news on Elliot Anderson. That's the news on Hackney. What are you guys saying to it all? Do you see a scenario? Let me ask you this, and we've done it loads of times, and apparently some people get offended by it, but I don't really care. If Forest have to sell a player this summer, and the 3 candidates, if you like, are going to be Gibbs White, Anderson, and Murillo, which of those 3, or put all 3 down in your preferred order of I'd rather sell him or what have you, and your reasons. Your reasons could be, you know what, I want to keep all of them, but if we need the money, Anderson's going to bring in the most money, so sell him. Or in my case, out of those 3, I'd probably sell Murillo. And my reason being is that I've seen more than enough in Jair Cunha that I think he can replace Murillo, even though technically Jair Cunha is right-sided centre-back, but he's been doing great left-sided as well. And that's the kind of thing I think Forest are going to be coming to terms with or figuring out come the summer. But none of this means anything until we know where we are next season and what additional potentially competitions we're in. Because getting Champions League changes absolutely everything. And the level of player we can attract will be huge. And especially with our history in that competition with the 2 stars. So get your thoughts in. Let me know. Early transfer news for you. I thought I'd share it with you guys. Make sure you've liked and subscribed. And we'll see you on the next video. Come on, you Reds.